And we're back. This is Elliott Serrano of the Chicago Red Eye, Geek to Me, and Jose Melendez of the Inveterate Media Junkies.
And of Dreamland Comics.
And coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us here on CCW TV, the Comic Culture Warrior video channel. I throw all those things out, and I know it's a lot, but just so you know, you can find, we're doing a lot of stuff. And if you don't see us here, you can find Jose on his blog and on his channel. You can find me on my blog doing my thing. So we're always out and about.
Now I just got to get a comic book to write.
Well, I don't think that's that hard to do. You can find
well,
somebody.
Obviously it's not that hard to do.
You and Demar can get... Damn, it took me a second.
Yeah.
You and Demar can do a comic together. Demar is out there itching to write something, to draw something. So you never know.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can write a Chew one-shot.
A Chew? Yeah, well, I'm sure. I have a feeling, given the right motivation that only you can offer, John would love to let you do a Chew one-shot. It wouldn't involve chewing, though.
No.
We are now at the part that we call Last Rants, and Last Rants is when Jose and I talk about something that kind of cheesed us off, or something that we've talked about before. As I said in the last segment, we want to talk a little bit about the J. Michael Straczynski hit hardcover. I mean, this sucker was selling out everywhere.
Sold out before it shipped almost.
Sold out. I mean, Amazon was selling that thing like mad. The Earth One hardcover.
They announced the second printing, I think, the day after it shipped. Like Bob Wayne said, the second printing's on the way, so should be out. Should be back in stock in a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks. But that thing was getting a lot of mainstream press.
And boy, did that thing suck.
You guys did speak about it on your podcast. You kind of gave it some what for. I haven't read it, so if you're expecting a review of it,
you can just go check out our podcast.
Check out his podcast, because I haven't read it. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't plan on reading it. I don't have any interest in reading it, because I've already read Birthright.
Yeah, and that was such... Why, yeah.
And then there was the Jeff Johns, Gary Frank Secret Origins.
Birthright was still better than that one. So.
And now you have yet another retelling of
this is the ultimate. This is their ultimate version.
They don't want to call it the ultimate version.
Right, but this is what it is. That's why it's a retelling. It's not a retelling of the classic Superman origin. It's an all-new Superman.
Well, wasn't that what All-Star Superman was supposed to be? Like Ultimate? The Ultimate
No,
line?
I think those are stories that were just out of continuity, I thought.
See, to me, I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that
you're not making it very good.
I know. They keep retelling the story.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's not like they're even giving it a lot of time between retellings. They keep hitting the reset button over and over and over again.
It probably would have been a year after that Jeff Johns thing if he actually wrote that thing on fucking time and actually came out. Instead of like those 6 issues taking like almost a year to come out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that is very true.
I just don't get it. I don't get the point behind it. I don't get the point behind doing yet another Superman origin.
And we're getting another Batman origin with the Jeff Johns, Gary Frank Batman Earth 1. So there's going to be another Batman reboot, kind of.
Well, anyway. The book was selling out everywhere. But what consequence is that? Because now... Because that book took off so well and sold so well, J. Michael Straczynski is saying, you know what? I don't need to do the monthly books anymore.
Well, he said that they... No, that's not... See, you're taking his word out of context like every other person on the internet.
Go on.
J. Michael Straczynski is leaving Superman and Wonder Woman because DC wants to fast-track the sequel to Earth 1.
Because he can't write the two together? Or the three together?
Apparently not. I mean, he can't even write he can't write these two things
together. That's what I'm saying.
He can't, and I don't know what happened to Brave and the Bold. That just kind of disappeared. And then people have been waiting for the 12 for forever. Yeah, tell me about it. I'm one of those people.
You know, it's like, what the fudge? You know, is it that Straczynski is bowing out? I mean, he's making it seem he's not coming out and saying, "Oh, I don't want to do these I still want to do these monthly books and do this." He's not saying that. I have not heard him coming out and insisting he wants to stay on Superman and Wonder Woman. Because it's not like, DC is going to push him off if he still wants to do it. Not like freaking Marvel would.
Right.
So to me, if you ask me, and then again,
you know how much money he's probably getting thrown to write that fucking
I know.
That's probably why he's leaving those books.
But see, that's the whole thing, and that's where what I'm saying is to him, it's just not worth doing the monthly books anymore.
Right. Well, they're still So anyway, so he's leaving Superman and Wonder Woman, but they're still going to use his story ideas.
Right.
But now they're bringing in fill-in writers. So poor Phil Hester has to tell the rest of that shitty Wonder Woman story. And then who's the other guy?
Who's taking over?
That's what I'm looking for.
Superman?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. While he's looking that up, here's my other thing. My other point. Chris Roberson. Okay. Here's my question. People hated J. Michael Straczynski's take on Superman and Wonder Woman.
Terrible.
They hated it, right?
Well, the Superman one is terrible. The woman one is tolerable, but that's already like starting to wear a thing with me too.
Right, started to wear.
So why don't they just restart? Just get rid of the fucking stories and they restarted these stories for him.
Right. That's the thing that's maddening. Yeah. That's the thing that's maddening. So the fanboys are saying, I hate his books, I'm not going to read them. I wish J. Michael Straczynski would get off the book. And now when he's off the book, oh, look, they started the whole thing for him, he's quitting.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what I've been reading and seeing out in the internet, in the interwebs. You know, you have the contingent that wanted him off the book, and it wasn't that DC came out and said, you know what, the books aren't selling, so we're changing creative direction again. It's just J. Michael Straczynski saying...
Now, wouldn't that be something if this was a cover-up to that actual thing?
It could be. Who knows? It could be. Although, these are things that are planned out kind of far in advance, unless maybe JMS doesn't have that many scripts in the can.
Well, his last scripts are... that Wonder Woman, that's it. That was his last script, 604, and that came out a month ago. I think the Superman that comes out tomorrow is his last Superman script.
See, that's crazy. The book, they've been hyping it for how long? The guy had 3 scripts in the can? Mm-hmm. That's crazy. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get this TV writer thing in comics right now. You have a lot of really good comic book writers out there who would be willing to do the job and do a really good job with it, and we keep getting lured by, publishers keep getting lured by the name of these TV writers and Babylon 5 and Damon Lindelof, who took God knows how long to do friggin' Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk. Is this a lesson that should be learned by the comics industry now when it comes to dealing with TV writers?
I'll tell you one thing. One point that I do bring up in my podcast and when we talk about this JMS thing is that poor Gail Simone gets booted off of Wonder Woman. Yeah. The book that she loved to write. Yeah. She was so happy. Gets booted off for J. Michael Straczynski. Guy writes 4 issues. And he's done with it. I mean, that's who I feel bad for.
Well, yeah. And
DC is never going to ask her to come back and do it. Well, JMS, he's kind of leaving the book. You want to come back and do Wonder Woman? If I was Gail Simone, I'd be like, fuck you. No, seriously. Like... You guys, you got what you wanted, so I would, if I was her, I would want to come. I'm sure she has a fondness for the character and would love at some point to come back and write it, but not under these terms. That would just be shitty.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I bet you that's probably why Phil Hester's doing it, because they wouldn't even dare ask Gail Simone to do it.
All I know is that right now, it seems like the editorial direction on any book involving J. Michael Straczynski has about as much purpose and reason and follow through as our videos sometime, which isn't a whole lot. Mm-hmm. How can you say, you know what, Earth 1 was such a great hit, we want to get the sequel done? Wait, were you thinking that Earth 1 was going to be like a moderate hit, and then, if it kind of sold, then we'll do a sequel eventually?
Well, one of the interesting things was that those Earth 1 hardcovers were Paul Villett's idea.
Yeah.
And what I heard from about a month or so ago was that DC was going to discontinue those hardcovers and and then continue the idea, but do monthlies, do monthly miniseries. But now they see that there was a huge hit, so now I guess they're going back to doing the hardcovers. They're not going to do the miniseries anymore. So this is like a last-second change.
Well,
because I mean, seriously, Dan DiDio, and when Dan DiDio and Jeff Johns and Jim Lee all came in here, they threw Paul Levis' under the bus, and they're like, "We're changing shit up. These fucking hardcovers, that's not what we're about anymore. We're not doing that." But lo and behold, it was a fucking great idea. They sold a shit ton of them, and maybe we'll continue to do that. Makes you think what other things that they fucked up, like Vertigo right now without Paul Levitz.
Oh man, Vertigo is dying. Vertigo's dying. It's like watching somebody.
So before all you people are like, yeah, Dan DiDio, Jim Lee, all these guys doing a great job. No, these are ideas that were holdovers that they were gonna just get rid of.
Yeah.
And now that it's paying off for them, now we'll take credit for it. I'm sure that they will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rotten shame what's happening with Vertigo right now. Vertigo's gonna be extinct soon, which is too bad. What has been some of the commentary about JMS leaving the book? What do we say here?
Well, here's if you want a quote.
Because again, it's not like we're just talking about this. There are other people in the industry. Straczynski basically indicates that the future is standalone works and short runs, which strikes me as a terrible vote of no confidence in terms of such a company and industry's bread and butter. If JMS doesn't want to write continuing series, doesn't that just suggest that fans might want to reconsider reading them? And that was said by the comics reporter's Tom Spurgeon.
But I like it. This is such an inflammatory comment because it's like, so JMS is the end-all be-all word of the comics industry?
Well,
like so many fans listen to what he has to say. Like, oh, Straczynski doesn't believe that floppies are the way. I'm going to just stop buying them.
Well, we have been saying that for a while, though, is that floppies are the strategy behind floppies is what's killing them. It's not what JMS is doing. It's not what he's saying.
And the whole thing when we talk ad nauseum about Marvel writing for the trade, why? Maybe that's what they're doing. They're doing that now, so they can just transition from the monthlies straight into the trades.
That's not that's an idea that I've actually heard Stephen King pitch in the past. I mean, when you think about writing series, Stephen King, his Dark Tower series, he writes them. He's wrote a series of books. People have to wait a year or so in between, but the books sell very well. So, and then you have that same format being used in Europe. You have the annuals being sold, the hardcovers sold in Europe that way too. It's trying to emulate that model. But now I know in Europe, the whole idea of the floppy is something that's very new to them, and they're really eating up the monthly format. When I went to Paris and I went to some of the shops there, they loved it. They had all the newest books that were out there. Although they also have they look like annuals. Well, they'll take like 4 or 5 different issues and they'll put them together, kind of like in a square bound deal, and those sell very well too. So I don't know. I can see why people want to emulate other successful. No, they're not going away.
To say something like this is just stupid.
But again, for J. Michael Straczynski to drop 2 books that were highly touted and pushed, and there were all these fanboys saying, "Oh, he's making all these changes, and how could he do that to Wonder Woman? How could he do that to Superman?" And then it seems like J. Michael Straczynski is saying, "You know what? This headache is just not worth it. Just not worth it. All the crap I got to deal with, all these people complaining about it. Okay, you know what? I'll give you what you want. I'm off. I'm not. The monthlies just aren't worth my time anymore."
See, again, now you're putting words into his mouth.
I am putting words into his mouth. I'm just saying that is the perception I have. Oh. And can I tell you something too? In a way, I can sympathize with that, because there are days when it doesn't matter how hard you try to do a good product and do something good with the character, and it goes back to again what happened with Batman and Robin, the whole change, and what John has done with Chew. You want to try to take a character in new directions, but you get readers out of their comfort zone, and they don't like that. Okay, well then, what does that leave you with? If you can't tell anything new and different, what does that leave you with? It leaves you with Spider-Man dying.
Yeah, I can't wait till he dies.
What's the solicitation on that? That
I don't know. He's the death of Spider-Man in February.
I didn't get it. I mean, someone asked me about that on Twitter. What do you think about the death of Spider-Man? They sent me a link, and I read it, and I'm going, oh, that's got to be bullshit. It's got to be something somebody made up. Marvel would not be so dumb as to do that. There's no way they could do that.
How long have you known about Joe Quesada running that shithole, and you still can say that with a straight face?
I'm just saying,
how dumb can Marvel be? It can be pretty fucking dumb.
Can someone go, it's been done. We just did this with Captain America.
I know.
They just did this with Batman.
They're going to do it with Daredevil, too, and they just killed Brother Voodoo this week. Oh, spoiler.
Wait, I thought he was a Sorcerer Supreme.
Not anymore.
I thought it was
Bendis killed him. It's a good thing that Rick Remender's Brother Voodoo series got canceled, because we're going to cancel now anyway if Bendis killed him.
It is so haphazard right now. What's going on in comics?
Everything's just flying by the seat of their pants. You know why? Because there's no events. Everything has to be an event now.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're doing. They're just pulling all the shit out of their ass. They're like, we need something because we don't have a big event.
And that's why. And I've read that's what they're blaming the fall on sales on. The fact that there was no unifying event.
No, I think that we already talked about why sales are falling, but I don't think it has to do with it. I think people were just so sick after every event. They're like, I'm done with comics. I think the events is what drove people away. And once they were finally finished, I'm like, I'm done.
Huh. Interesting. That you might not be too far from the truth there. Mm-hmm. So we've gone from proclaiming that comics will always be here to now comics are dead.
Yeah. It's in a 5-minute conversation. Comics are alive and well, and now they're fucking dead.
Where do you go?
Because when you rationally think about it, comics are going to die.
My question is, where do you go from here with these characters? I think we've gotten the end of the road. We've gotten to the end of the road. There are no new stories. If you're going to write these stories for the market that currently exists, the 30 and 40-somethings, we've friggin' seen it all.
Go read Image Comics.
Yeah,
now.
well...
That's what you do.
I don't want to go back to the 90s.
It's not the 90s. Not that was shitty. Not fucking Spawn.
You know, what's
I'm talking about Invincible. Go read Invincible. Go read Chew. Go read Morning Glories. There's all your new comics. Go read the new Halcyon comic book that came out this week. Go read Skull Kickers. The internet's proclaiming Image is in a renaissance, and this year, and I have to agree with that.
What happens to the mainstream?
I don't care about the mainstream. I'm all about indies now. Fuck the mainstream. That's my new motto. Fuck the mainstream.
We've turned into cynical hipster comic readers.
Yeah. Yep. Next year, and I'm gonna start reading the Comics Journal too. I'm gonna subscribe to it. Do you still print it, or is it online? Well, either way, I'm gonna read the Comics Journal. Maybe I'll start buying back issues of Comics Journal and be like, man, remember when these alt comics used to be really hip back in the day? And I'm just gonna come out and start reviewing Acme Novelty #2. And It's a Good Life If You Don't Weekend, some of the first Palookaville stories. That's all I'm gonna review. I'm gonna review really cool old hipster comics.
Oh man, And again, I don't think you're that far from the truth, because it might come to that. Mm-hmm. There's nothing for us. I'm saying Jose and I, and we've been reading comics for a really long time. It looks like the road, we're getting to the end of that cliff. We're getting to that precipice where the mainstream books that we grew up with, they hold nothing new for us anymore. We're going to have to go elsewhere. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to go elsewhere because it seems like they're not willing to do anything new, or they can't do anything new, different, and original. I mean, this Batman and Robin thing is about as close as you're going to get to something new, different, and original in a while. Superman, they can't figure out anything new to do with him, so they just keep rebooting him over and over again. They just keep retelling his origin over and over again, resetting his status quo. Spider-Man, it looks like they're going to do something again with him.
But this all comes down to the heads of the companies. This all comes down to the editors. This all comes down to who's calling the shots. And until DiDio gets the boot out of there, and until Joe Quesada gets the boot, it's going to be the same old shit, just recycled over and over again. Until you get somebody in there with fresh ideas and who knows what the hell they're doing and actually cares about characters and cares about telling entertaining stories and cares about creativity. Where's the money for Marvel and Disney to take a gamble on something new and creative? Nothing. Because they have all this licensed bullshit that they can just keep retelling the same shit for over and over and over again. And as long as that money keeps coming in, why were they trying anything new at all?
It's back.
And now,
right.
And what's the new trend is that Captain America died. Look how good that turned out, and we can tell a miniseries. Oh, look at this Daredevil thing. We're gonna kill him, and then we're gonna bring him back and Daredevil Reborn. Oh, let's kill Spider-Man. So it's the new trend is telling the same story with different characters now.
Right. Which is just...
And then hyping them back up when they come back.
Right.
It's all going to be secular, and that's all that they're doing. Because they're run out of ideas. And I'm telling you, I don't know if the death of Spider-Man is... I don't think it's the death of Spider-Man. Personally, I think it's the death of the concept of Spider-Man. And Peter Parker's going to throw his fucking costume in the garbage again. He's going to stop being Spider-Man for a couple months.
Why?
And then we're going to get like 4 different replacement Spider-Mans like we did back in the 90s. And like when we did with the Superman.
But they've done that. They've done that with Slinger. The Slingers
that's what I was talking about. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Right.
They've done it. They know that it works. That's what they're going to do.
Clone Saga.
Well, they came out with another Clone Saga comic this year. So that's unless you people can't see that, that's exactly what's happening. Is everything's just coming back around again.
Right. Which
DC is turning into everything in DC now is going. Everything is 90s.
Right.
For some reason, the whole mentality of the mainstream industry, it's all about the 90s again.
Which is fine if you're talking about new readers who've never seen this before, but that's not even the market that they're aiming for.
Right. This is all people who've been in there since the 90s.
Right.
You know?
Right. I'm saying, if you want to retell these stories again, reimagine them for a new audience, that's one thing. But you're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, you can say that the Earth One thing was geared towards the new audience. You were gearing that book towards the folks who go to Barnes and Noble, because that thing was really set for bookstores, made more for bookstores than for comic shops. So you can say that. But then where do you go from there? You don't, folks who read Earth One aren't going to go to a comic shop and say, okay, I want the continuing story of this Superman.
But this Superman doesn't wear a hoodie. I don't like this Superman.
Right, yeah. So it's like, again, the marketing, as you say, the direction just seems really seat of your pants. It's like, we're just going to throw shit out there and try to see what we can grab.
And I think what it is they're like, comics more than ever are relying on trends. And with trends, you have to be on top of it like that.
Right.
And that's probably why they're flying by the seat of their pants, because they can't... Comics, for some reason, like... the mainstream just can't guess anymore, or just what they want to do. They're always trying to cash in on something. They're always trying. They just can't tell. Just fucking go back to doing what you're doing and plan out your fucking your universe is like 6 years ahead of time. Just do what you want to do. Don't rely on trends. Just do what you want to do and be fucking creative. Don't rely on people in the mainstream or whatever it is, just compromising your visions.
The thing too, and that's how Marvel Comics got started. Stan Lee said, "You know what? I'm just going to write things that I want to read." Mm-hmm. And what he wrote was contrary to all the trends that was going on in the market, and it went over huge. Yep. And what's going on in Image right now is
it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. They're those people are telling stories that they want to tell, and guess what? There's a market for that stuff.
Yeah. And then there are a lot of independent, Dark Horse. I think Dark Horse is kind of falling into. Now that they're one of the big three, they're kind of like...
Well, not anymore. I think IDW is number 3.
IDW's got all those licenses now, too, yeah. But Dark Horse has kind of been mining that Star Wars license to death, and then,
But at least Dark Horse is starting, they're trying... I think Dark Horse lost its identity for a while, and now they're kind of getting back, and they started picking up a bunch of manga that they just... We're not going to do this anymore. And I think they're trying to get some of those people excited again. They're going to go back, because that was a great thing about Dark Horse. You can talk about their awesome monthlies or license, whatever, but their manga line was the strongest manga line in the industry. And then they just stopped publishing them because maybe they weren't selling enough. Right. But they were still the best manga in the market. And I think somebody's realized that we did have the best stories. We did have like the best licenses for the manga. We got to go back and do that because people are missing it. Let's just build something up again. The Dark Horse needs to get back to where it used to be, and I think they can be there. And I would like to see Dark Horse be the number 3 publisher again. But now with Image there, it's Image and Dark Horse. I would much rather see one of those two than IDW any day of the week. That's just my personal preference. Those guys have been around for a while. Dark Horse has been around longer than Image, but those companies have the best books, and they don't put out as much shit as IDW. You'd think IDW is number 3 just because they flood the market with other licensed bullshit. Like, how many fucking G.I. Joe comics and Transformers comics do we need? Seriously. Like,
and Doctor Who comics. And
well,
the True Blood comic.
Well, they have one Doctor Who comic.
Right.
They have one True Blood comic.
Right.
But I'm talking about, like, G.I. Joe Origins
but
and G.I. Joe
they're playing
Cobra.
the same game that the other publishers are, though.
I
mean,
understand
every
that.
publisher can be guilty of that same... With the exception of Image... I can't.
I mean, I guess
we
can say this. We just did it. We said the same thing. Dark Horse is relying too much on Star Wars, and IDW is relying too much on the G.I. Joe and Transformers licenses.
Right, their licenses, right.
Right. But I think if Dark Horse can stop relying on the licenses and get back to original creators doing stuff, I think that they'll walk their way back up.
You know what they need?
Army of Darkness?
No, J. Michael Straczynski to do a book for him.
And then
really hype it up. And then quit.
And then quit after 2 issues.
A Babylon 5 comic.
Oh, man. Now, there's a license I'm surprised nobody has.
I don't think anybody wants it.
Well, fucking Farscape can have a fucking comic book.
Yeah, but see, Farscape has a really... I mean, Farscape is one of those shows that got screwed. I mean,
it did get
Farscape
screwed. I agree
got
with
screwed.
that.
Whereas Babylon 5...
Well, it ran its course. It was a 5-year show.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. It's like it never did. It didn't get the Firefly treatment, I guess.
Right.
Is what we're saying. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
I think that's pretty much it, which is pretty good considering we weren't sure what we were gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we'll wrap this up here. Just a couple of things. Where to find us? First, of course, Mr. Melendez here can be found over at InveterateMediaJunkies.com, where you can see his blog, comment on manic or mellow Mondays, depending on how you feel.
Well, just all the old CCW stuff.
All the old
there.
But wait, you have a new feature that you did. Idiot that you hate. What is it? The Idiot of the Month, or?
Oh no, I think that was for the podcast.
What was it? What was it called?
Idiot Watch.
Idiot Watch.
Yeah. That was on the podcast.
It was on the podcast.
Yeah.
The Idiot Watch. Who was the idiot you were watching?
I don't know if we actually kept it. That was something that Inside Man and I were talking about.
Yeah.
And as we were doing the podcast, we kind of came to the conclusion that he wasn't such an idiot after all. That we just strongly disliked him. So we thought that it was a little harsh to call it. So the Idiot Watch may or not be in there. It will be. We pretty much we called it Idiot Watch. And I made the joke that, 9 times out of 10 we're going to be talking about Joe Quesada. But this for the first one, it was going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And then for the next 9 times it would be Joe Quesada.
Wow.
But I don't know if we're still going to call it that. There will be an Idiot Watch at some point if we don't keep it like that in the first podcast. It'll come back. But yeah.
I think you should leave it in because people are not going to be curious about it.
Huh?
Yeah, you should leave it in.
We'll see.
Check it out. And you can also follow Jose on Twitter at IamJunkieJose.
Yes.
At IamJunkieJose, as well as the what's the
IMJ Truthsayers. That's the Invited Media Junkies. That's the blog's Twitter
feed
where we give out info on the upcoming podcasts.
On the upcoming podcasts. Do you have any more contests coming up?
I don't know. Superman 1 ends now. We do have some more, but we're not going to talk about them yet.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and then the person who I do the other blog with is Inside Man. His Twitter feed, I believe, is Inside Man 4 the number 4 U. So yeah,
you can follow him. You can also follow me on Geek to Me at Geek to Me. That's my Twitter handle. You can also see my blog at RedEyeChicago.com/GeekToMe. And I've also had a couple contests. I gave away a copy of the Human Centipede.
What a shit prize.
But both people wanted it. It was a really good contest. I asked them to tell me the most disgusting thing that they could think of for it. And man, some people grossed me out. They really grossed me out, which shows what people will do to get something. And I also gave away some Simpsons collectibles. I will be giving away a bunch of other stuff, especially for the holiday. I've got an office full of crap that people have sent me that I can't keep because I signed an ethics contract with the Tribune. I cannot accept gifts of anything that's worth more than a keychain.
So why don't you pass this shit along to me?
I can do that. I can do that.
Instead of giving them away to these ungrateful people.
check out inveteratemediajunkies.com and let him know. Should I give it to him? I'll give it to you.
So I think you should probably start doing like a regular ending title credits with all this fucking information.
With all the
so
information
on it.
I know.
Over and over again.
And, yes, the CCW TV blog is coming back, and I'm...
Probably stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever, but it's going to rely on you folks to keep it going, because there's only so much I can do. We're going to be making the community hangout for the CCW Nation, where you folks are going to review comics and tell us what you think, and that we will see what the CCW Nation thinks about the books that we know and love. So, until next time, this has been Elliott Serrano and Jose Melendez coming to you from Dreamland Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Don't forget us. We'll always love you, and we'll see you again soon.